Would you like to read more, but does the thought of big books scare you away? Don't worry, I'll give you a list of 10 books that are under 100 pages each. Once you read this, you'll become more confident, you will read faster, and then you won't be scared by the big books that you fear so much right now. Keep watching. So whether you're just scared of big books or you just want a quick read, these are 10 classics that have withstood the test of time and are much beloved by readers all over the world. Now, the number of pages might actually vary across publications, but according to my research, these are the books that are generally published under 100 pages. The first book is The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. Now, whether you don't understand this book or whether you even hate it, this is a book by one of the most significant literary figures of the 20th century. The story is about Gregor Samsa, who is a traveling salesman, and what happens when he wakes up one morning to discover that he has been transformed into an insect. This story is as weird as his other stories, which usually feature alienated protagonists who are faced by surreal and bizarre circumstances. The next book is The Murders in the Rue Morgue by Edgar Allan Poe, and this book is particularly notable because it is one of the earliest examples of the detective story. For lovers of Sherlock Holmes and Agatha Christie, this is a must read. This story was written at a time when the word detective didn't even exist. The narrator of this story tells us about a murder that is being investigated by a character named Dupin, and he deciphers all the clues to figure out that the murder that has been committed is by a murderer who is not human at all. The next book is The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Now, this is a really creepy story about a woman who moves to a mansion to recover from depression, and while she's there, she becomes really fascinated with the yellow wallpaper, and she imagines and sees all kinds of things in the wallpaper, and she slowly spirals and descends into madness. There are many interpretations to this story, but one of them being the oppression of women in the late 1800s and early 1900s, but you can read it and decide for yourself. The next book is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. This is a Gothic novella that introduced the term Jekyll and Hyde into the English language to indicate a person who has opposing facets to his personality. The story is told by a lawyer, Gabriel Utterson, who suspects that his friend Dr. Jekyll is being blackmailed by an unscrupulous person called Edward Hyde, but later he finds out that the truth is really quite shocking and very different from what he had imagined. The story is an examination of the duality of human nature and the struggle between good and evil that goes on inside each human being. This story comes in at 71 pages. The next book is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, and he has written this book to celebrate the spirit of Christmas. It tells of a miser named Ebenezer Scrooge who is a really mean and nasty guy, and one night he is visited by the ghost of his business partner Jacob Marley, and also the ghosts of Christmas past, present and future, and he is shown sights and visions that make him rethink his entire life and make him turn around and change for the better. This is a wildly popular Christmas tale even till today and has been adapted into many movies, plays and books, and this book comes in at 80 pages. The next book is The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. This is a story, a Gothic novella that tells the story of Ichabod Crane, who is a teacher and he lives in the town of Sleepy Hollow. He is particularly interested in the local myths and legends, and especially of the Headless Horseman who is said to haunt those parts. Then one night he's traveling home from a party and he's pursued by this Headless Horseman who actually throws his head at him, and later the townspeople realize that it was not a head but only just a pumpkin, and Ichabod Crane is never heard from again. The next book is a book that is loved by children and adults alike, and it is The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. This book has been voted the best book of the century in France. It has also been translated into over 300 languages. It continues to sell 2 million copies per year and is the most translated and widely read book in the world today. The story is about a pilot who crash lands in the deserts and meets a small boy there who says that he's from another planet and is trying to get back home, but he can't seem to find a way out. But he eventually does after spending 8 days with the pilot. This may seem like a children's book, but it is a book meant for adults as well that is full of wisdom and meaning. It talks about how adults were once children too, but they grow up to be really narrow-minded and uncreative and close their minds off to possibility. There are many other moral lessons scattered throughout this book, and it's definitely worth reading more than once. This book comes in at 93 pages. The next one is The Pearl by John Steinbeck. This is a novel that was written in 1947 and is considered a parable because of the moral lessons that it contains. The story is set in Mexico and is about a pearl fisherman named Kino who's not been having much success with his fishing over the last couple of days when suddenly his child is stung by a scorpion and he doesn't have any money to get his child treated. So he goes fishing in the hopes that he'll be able to get a pearl and he'll be able to sell it to pay for his child's treatment. He is actually able to fish for a really large pearl, and when the townspeople get to know about it, they start pursuing him. Everybody wants that pearl till he has to take his wife and child and run away. But the story ends really tragically and is a commentary on good and evil that exists in all of us. The theme of the story centers around family, greed, good and evil. This book comes in at 96 pages. I cannot leave this next book out of this list of books, Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. And now this book is one that is loved by a lot of people and also hated by a lot of people because they don't really understand the point of it. It's a story about Alice who one afternoon falls down a rabbit hole and then finds herself in a world that is inhabited by strange and wonderful creatures. This book was written by the author to amuse and entertain a few children who he accompanied on a boat trip one afternoon, and falls in the literary nonsense genre of literature, and therefore we should not be trying to find a lot of meaning in this book but just enjoy it for what it is. My favorite characters from this book are the Cheshire Cat, the Mad Hatter and the Queen of Hearts. This book also comes in at 96 pages. The last book is The Turn of the Screw by Henry James, and this is a creepy horror story. Well, not horror in the sense of like really scary and will keep you up at night. This is a story about a young governess who goes to a mansion to take care of 2 children, but very soon she finds strange things going on there and she realizes that all is not as it seems and they are not alone. This is a much adapted story and you might want to check out Ruth Ware's The Turn of the Key, which is the latest adaptation of this story. This book also comes in at 96 pages. So that was my list of 10 classics under 100 pages each. I hope you will go and check them out. There will be a list in the description bar below in case you want to go and buy any of these books. Also, if you liked this video, please don't forget to press the like button and come back to my channel for more videos like this. I'll be back soon with another video. I hope to see you then. Bye.